Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia. Welcome back to another preview for the upcoming The Fear is Wild expansion pack for Total War 3 Kingdoms. And today in this preview, we'll be looking at all the Nanman characters. And to kick things off, we have Meng Huo here waiting for us. He is on turn 1 for his 194 start. And we are going to look at a few things, namely how level ups work and how personal goals work. So Meng Huo here has a background title, like most characters in the game, and we have some stat boosts from it. 45 points, 40 to authority, 5 points to resolve. It's quite low compared to most legendary characters of the Han, which tend to get at least 60 points, sometimes even 80 or 100 point if they are very strong. Meng Huo's 45 definitely is low compared to that, but there are many ways that Nanman characters can gain additional stats from their level up, so we'll take a look at that very soon. So in general, it's not too weak. We also get +1 resiliency like all legendary characters. We get minus 20% chance of evading capture post-battle. This has to do with our lore, because we got captured 7 times by Zhuge Liang. So to make Zhuge Liang's life easier, let's give him 20%. We also have a special ability, Power of Love, and an ability called Defiant Cry. So we can look at both of these abilities in the military tab very soon. And in addition to that, there's faction-wide bonuses like +5 points to melee evasion for Nanman units and +5% replenishment for own army. So that wraps things up, and one thing to note here, all your combat abilities are no longer on your skill tree, which are called personal goals now, they're on your background. So if we pop into the military tab, we can see our abilities. All Nanman generals will have Miasma as ability. It's a bonus when you're in forest. And you have Power of Love, that's unique to Meng Huo and Lady Zhurong, as these two are destined together. And you get damage resistance when you guys are close together on the battlefield, 25%. That is actually very strong. And both will be immune to fatigue, also incredibly strong. So maybe getting each other confederated is the first thing you should focus on. And then we have Defiant Cry. This is our unique ability. It gives us 15 points of morale hit to enemy. It's a very standard Vanguard feel ability for the Nanman. Its duration 30 seconds, cooldown's 120. Cooldown's a bit long in my opinion, but that's what we have to work with. And these abilities will be disabled when you are on an elephant. You get a different set of elephant abilities to replace them. And in terms of items, we can equip any items because every single Nanman character are classless. So there is no weapon restrictions in terms of two-handed or one-handed weapons. And here we see the generic weapons are Stone Axe, Machete, and Twin Flint weapons. So very primitive. That's going to be a theme. At least we have a machete. And the machete surprisingly doesn't have the highest armor piercing damage. Well, actually it does. I saw 112 and I thought that was really low. But the axe have 63 because it's made of stone, and the flint weapons are 75. So there we go. They do attack quite fast, 30 melee attack speed, but not very strong weapons, let's just say that. But at least we can equip any weapon we acquire, because the match Jian over here gives us 507 armor piercing, so much better right off the bat. Armor for unique legendary generals are still unique and not able to be swapped, and that's very standard, nothing has changed. We still have access to horses, we still have access to followers and ancillary items, that part's all the same. And the thing that's really different is what happens when we level up. When a Nanman general level up, you put the point in one of the 3 stats, or 5 stats, my bad, one of the 5 stats. And each level of the point will give you increasing amount of that stat. So it benefits you to focus on one, because let's say if I go for instinct all the way, I'll get 150 points of instinct. That's actually a ton, right? If we are at level 5 more levels and get all these, our instinct will be 194. That's incredible. That also applies to cunning, which can be increased by 150. Your health can be increased by 150. So the best way to build characters, in my opinion, is probably focus on 2 stats instead of spreading things out, simply because the level 5 boost is so large. 50 point is game changing. So definitely consider that when you are using your points when you level up. And I hope it's the same mechanic as the Hun generals that were patched in 1.5, where the level 10 level up will give you 2 skill points, because that way you can actually max out 2 different ones, or else you'll be stuck with only 9 points through the 9 level ups from 1 to 10, and then you can't get 50 points for the second one, which would be quite disappointing. I think you can get 10 skill points. I think that's how it works now, with a level 10 level up giving 2 skill points. But that's kind of the general idea when you build characters. Now obviously your other stats in terms of traits and your inherit stat is going to matter a lot for you. So in this case, we get Meng Huo at level 3. He already invested 1 point in champion and 1 point in commander. Perhaps I don't want to go that heavily in commander given that he has 40 points here, but he already kind of ruined it. I can't focus on another stat and boost 2 stats to level 5 because 1 point's already wasted here. And obviously I don't want to get authority over 200 because it maxed out at 200, so that'd be quite a waste as well. So that's how level up works. It's very strong because you can imagine running a ranged army where you want a lot of cunning. You can easily get yourself close to 200 cunning even though your character is not designed to be cunning focused. And given how traits are spawned in game, in terms of you need high stats in that trait, like these are green traits, they will spawn more likely if you have high green stats. So we can actually gear our characters closer to how we want to build them with this system here. And perhaps you want someone who's really good at dueling. You might want to max out the expertise and resolve. Lots of health, lots of evasion. That applies to a good cave lord or administrator. You want lots of resolve for population growth. So that's kind of things you can consider with this new system for all the Nanman generals. And then moving on, we have personal goals. So these are like mini quests for you to gain stats for your characters. So let's take a look at these. So first we have Tribal Hero. There is 3 levels to this, as you can tell by the 3 dots. And each level grants you 5 extra melee evasion, right? All the way up to 15 points of melee evasion. And the way to acquire this is to fight in 15 duels, right? You see the requirement at the bottom. So fight in duels, get this upgraded, and you gain more melee evasion, which makes you better in duels. Then we have Martial, which gives 20 points morale and 40 points of morale, and I believe this is personal morale. So this will be morale for Meng Huo himself. And at tier 3, all his retinue will also get immune to fear and terror, and Meng Huo himself will become unbreakable. And all you have to do is win battles. So the more battles you win, the more morale you will have, the less likely you'll run away from battle, and ultimately once you win 45, you give your troops immune to fear and terror, and you also become unbreakable yourself. So pretty useful. And then we have Shaman Rites, which gives us replenishment for our own retinue, all the way up to 15%. So this is also quite powerful. All we have to do is recruit captive generals after winning battle with this character up to 15. So the one issue I can see with this is if you don't complete this while you still are trying to unite the tribes, you might never be able to unlock this for later characters. Because if you think about it, this only works when you have other Nanman tribes to fight. Once you have united the Nanman tribe and everyone is your ally, you can't recruit any captive generals. So at that point, you can't unlock this one anymore. And this one's quite powerful. So definitely pick out your key generals early and maybe nurse that last opponent a bit longer so you can capture more generals to unlock these on the characters you desire before finishing off your last tribe. And then moving on, we have Butcher. This one is really strong. All you have to do is kill 900 enemy troops personally on the battle, and you can gain up to 30% melee armor piercing damage. So the more you kill, the better you can kill more. And finally, in terms of 3-tier abilities or personal goals, we have Diligence, which requires us to have Cave Lord construct buildings in your commandery, as in you have to be that Cave Lord. So Meng Huo here obviously is never going to be a Cave Lord, which are administrators. And the more buildings you construct, the more discount you have for constructing future buildings. So there's a few ways you can deal with this. perhaps you want to just find the cheapest building in the building branch and build it, demolish it, build it, demolish it until you get the 15 out of the way, or just naturally use your Cave Lord to build up one commandery, then move him to the next. I can see an incredible amount of reduction in construction cost if you specialize your Cave Lord in expertise and resolve. Super high population growth, super high cost reduction, plus 30% extra with diligence. So pretty much approaching free building status, I believe, with good Cave Lords, and you can move them around your commanderies for free buildings everywhere. So that can make up for the lack of building economy for most of the Nanman buildings. And moving on to the next 10, which are just singular goals that you can finish, like win 10 defensive battle with this character, you get discipline for all own retinue, you can get 30 increase of rank for infantry units in your retinue. So if you're fielding infantry in this retinue, if you have them rank up 30 times, your retinue will gain charge reflect. This would not be just on the troop that gained those 30 levels, it's even if you replace troops, all your troops will have this charge reflect inside your own retinue. You also have discounts for sword and shield, as well as spear infantry, 15% each. So it just makes you an infantry focused commander in a sense. And then moving on, we have Missile Chief, which is the opposite. It's a range focus, increasing the range or the rank of the missile units in this character's retinue 25 times, 10% ammo, 15% upkeep discount. Also pretty useful. Then we have Prudence. You need to release captive generals after winning battle with this character. This is much easier to do because you can release any culture general you want, and what you will get is increased chance of evading capture post-battle and also increased chance of capturing enemy generals post-battle itself. So this is going to work quite well with a combination with Shaman Rites. So perhaps if you want to finish Shaman Rites, which is quite important, you want to capture a lot of people, right? So you need to get this done first. So perhaps the first few generals you get, if the available capture higher option is not available and you are choosing between release or kill, perhaps you want to release 5 so you get that increase of 25% chance to capture future ones to help you, have the option to finish up Shaman Rites. And then moving on, we have Beast Tamers. This is obviously one most people are going to be very interested about. Increase the rank of cavalry and animal units within your retinue allows you to get guerrilla deployment as well as reduce upkeep for animal and cavalry units. And yes, Nanman faction technically do not have cavalry unit, but if you have seen our reforms overview, you can acquire some if you go down the Han favored line in the military reforms. So moving on to the final row here, we have Fury. You get 10% melee attack rate, nothing fancy here, win 20 offensive battles. So there's a defensive one, there's an offensive one, you get increased melee attack rate. Then moving on, Role Model gives you Encourage, which boosts the morale of nearby units. We need to fight alongside reinforcements with this battle, so tag teaming, or maybe just have a couple generals standing next to your main army without retinue so they're free, and have them reinforce every time so that you can pick up this skill. And then you have Stalker, which enables night battle, which I believe is going to be very key for the Nanman factions. And we need to fight ambush battles 3 times for us to unlock night battles, which will be devastating after we get it, because we can combine with ambush battles, and that would be a huge morale hit on the enemy. And we'll be starting always in forest areas, because if you think about it, if you have bonus to forest fights and we're moving to the central plains to fight or moving north to fight, or out west in the desert, the only way to maintain that advantage of fighting in the forest is actually to use ambush battles, which will always put your troops in the forest at the beginning, and there will be a lot of forest in that map with a narrow corridor for the enemy to be in. So that's one way you can consider things. Combine that with night battle, huge morale advantage as well, a very strong way to use your slightly weaker Nanman troop against the Han regulars. And then we have Warmongers cause terror. If you occupy settlements with this character, this seems just a very natural progression, not hard to get at all, so nothing fancy here. And then we have Tireless Soul, 15% to campaign movement range, always a great quality of life bonus. You just need to win 10 siege battles. So similar to the settlement, you win the siege battle, you occupy the settlement, they work hand in hand, and you get a nice 15% boost to campaign movement range. So that's pretty much it about personal goals. And what we can do now is just take a look at some of the other characters. So we have Meng Jie, who's our older brother, and he also starts the game out with a unique armor. He doesn't have a unique model necessarily. This face is pretty generic, but he does have a unique armor, as he does play quite a crucial role in the Romance of Three Kingdoms. He is, as you can see, believer in peace. He became a hermit down the line and retreated into a valley where Zhuge Liang approached him, asking him for help about how to get around the 4 poison springs outside of King Duosi's cave. So Meng Jie helped Zhuge Liang out there to defeat his younger brother because he believes in peace rather than rebellion and war. And similarly, we can see very low stat increases, and the combat ability, and here is Rending Strike, is available on your background. That's where you want to check what generals have as their combat abilities. You only get one, which is a little sad. The other abilities are passive abilities in terms of miasma that's just given to everyone. You get 5% replenishment to own army. That's nice. Public order bonus faction wide if you are a prime minister, heir, or faction leader. In this case, they're not called that. We will be doing a court and rank guide a bit down the line, so we'll take a look at that then. We'll get a sneak peek once we open up the character panel though. So that's pretty much it. Traits are the same. They're going to be pretty key in determining how you want to build your characters, right? We get a blank slate every time, and depending on what trait they start out with and where the stats are, you might want to consider how you want to invest. Ideally, something close to 50 but not over 50 is something that's good, right? If we have 49 expertise, that's perfect. If we get all these points, he'll be at 199. You don't waste any points. And the one that's, let's say, cunning, you think it's great, right? 72, it is great. But it's not worth investing points into making him a more specialized cunning character, because intuitively you want to play to your advantage, but that's actually not how it works. You don't want to waste points, right? Getting that 5th point in a stat, let's say strategist stat here, is worth 50. If you don't put it there and put it in a new one, it's worth 10. You're losing 40 points of stat by investing incorrectly. So you want to look for stats that are under 50 to focus on your build, and things that are over 50 are great. They're just extra stats on the character, and you can always use that, but you don't need to focus the build around that. So that's kind of my approach, at least for how I will build my characters. And then moving on, we have a generic character here. You can see he has a generic armor. So this is where things get a little bit interesting. I have not seen any Nanman styled armor, and I'm not sure if you can actually wear Han armor. So it might be very likely you're stuck with this common armor the whole game. I could be wrong. There could be added Nanman versions of uncommon or a rare armor. It's possible, but I wouldn't put it past it to just say this might be it. And it could make sense because you don't expect to see Nanman people wearing other things just because you have a bigger tribe. Maybe the armor system for the Han would not work on them. But these things are not unequipable and they're not upgradable. It's not like the yellow turban versions where you're stuck with it and it just evolves every time you level up. But there is the possibility where you could remove it and it could still evolve every time you level up, but that would be weird because then I could have one character leveling up armors for everyone else, and that would be also a bit weird. So given the fact that it's not locked on, I don't think it's a evolution thing. So I believe you're probably just a poorly armored unit. But the good news is the armor's not terrible. 44 armor base is not that low. A lot of the Han armors are 55 base, so you're not losing out that much. The stat is quite low, but once again, we have a great way to improve that. So that's going to be how most of these characters play. And there's going to be different generic background titles. Eventually, I'll make a guide on it. But right now, all you need to know is that we have different versions. I'll show you guys a couple more. We'll recruit a few generals. Obviously, Meng Huo's and Meng Jie's are going to be unique. And I believe Meng Huo's title could change as you unite the tribes. I believe you can see an evolution system similar to Chen Pu, where you become Elder Chen. You can become the king of the Nanmans. So there's ways to adapt this for unique characters. And perhaps when they level up, they can also get better backgrounds, because you're not going to stay novice captain forever, or at least I hope not. And then Meng Yu, that's our younger brother, also unique armor here. Bull-headed fighter. He sticked around with Meng Huo during the rebellion. You can see his abilities also on here, and everything else is very similar. So let's pop into the character screen. Here's our court. We'll talk about this in a separate overview in 2 days, so we'll leave that alone. We're here just to recruit a few more characters. So the recruiting works exactly the same, costs 1,000, and characters will pop in over time. You have family trees. You can get married, and I believe you can also seek spouse, so you can pay to add another character to your faction. 2,000, not that bad. And if we look at the other family trees, you can see marriage is definitely an option. And we have one small interesting relationship in that Duo Si married the daughter, the sister of Sha Mo Ke, which is not historical, but they just put that in the game. I don't know why, but we have it. So that's the family tree, and everything else is very similar. You can come into the character to see people's Chinese characters, to see people who you know what their bonuses are. Power of Love on Lady Zhurong, and then pretty much everyone you had contact with, and some very weird names, because the Nanman people's name are not following the same style as the Han Chinese name, so they would pick some very rarely used characters when generating such names. And if you look at the characters we just picked up, we have stuff like Amateur General. You get an ability called Southern Wrath, and we can take a look at that. It's a splash damage plus a morale hit. And then the other general here has a Southern Wrath as well. Fledgling Administrator, so plus satisfaction plus 1 assignment. So once again, Prime Minister, Heir, or Faction Leader is going to be called something different for us. It's going to be called Seer. We can go back to it. Seer, Advisor, Faction Heir, and Leader. So this group right here is going to be your faction-wide bonuses. And this group is a special council that gives bonuses, and Cave Lords are administrators. So that's going to be our court. And this is going to be a pretty quick one, as we have checked out all the characters. Hope you guys enjoyed this. And we'll come back tomorrow. We'll introduce all the tribes. We'll come and look at this screen here. I'll talk about how this works. What are the major tribes, as you can see the bigger circles on the inside, and what are minor tribes, and how uniting them will bring you benefits. A little bit about the lore of each one, because every single one of them are based on an actual character from Romance of the Three Kingdoms. They pretty much exhausted those 4 chapters in the book and found every single name they could and put them here. So we'll talk about that then. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and see you guys next time. Bye!